Welcome to Truth in Telecoms. We have Dave Casem, who has been through hell in the past few weeks. So I will just leave it to Johnny and David to kick things off, and then I'll poke in with a few questions.
Well, first of all, David, say hello. Let everybody put a face and a voice to the king.
Very flattering, Johnny. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm David Casem,
David
co-founder
Gates from
of Telnyx.
Telnyx.
Yep,
So,
indeed.
David, you and I started trading barbs about a year and a half ago when I tried to buy the campaign registry. And out of nowhere, you started like sending me messages. And I think at first I was fighting with you on something. And over the course of the time, we've built I know you're a fan of the show. You watch our stuff because it's in the industry and we're the only lunatics that do a show on messaging and CPAS that people watch because the rest of the world doesn't really care. But our industry cares and Wall Street cares. But I think, look, I think starting off by telling people, because at very first, people don't talk about you that much. But the more I dig into your company and what you've just pulled off recently and the level of fight in you and just integrity and just toughness, just pure toughness is something I've never seen before in telecom. I've never seen this level of toughness from anybody. So why don't you start off telling everybody how you started the company, when you started, how you got to here? Because I think you founded the company in 2009, right?
Yep, yep. I was still in college at the time. So, started the company by chance, serendipity, I guess. Was installing phone systems, believe it or not. I was a IT guy, and someone I was playing around with Linux. Someone suggested that I take a look at Asterisk, which was the first sort of open source telephony platform out there. And we would go into small businesses and give them the opportunity to have a very professional phone presence. Uh, First iteration was literally putting in a dial logic or even a Digium card in the back of the computer, putting in some POTS lines. Obviously, the industry evolved with time. The internet became we sort of switched from a model where you were connecting to the internet over phone lines to one in which phone lines could be placed or phone calls could be placed over the internet. And so found some guy, Thomas Lynch, telecomlawyer.net, I think it was, who said, "Oh, you can become a carrier. You just got to file this paperwork." And we went down that path. And at that point, sort of realized that there was an ability to serve other folks like me. There was a community of people out there in the open source telephony space who didn't really have a recurring revenue model, and so the idea was to give them the ability to be their own carrier and start to have recurring revenue from the phone systems that they were installing. In 2014, after wrapping up school, uh, a friend of mine went through the Techstars program, and in doing so, sort of encouraged me to take a look at it. And I think that's when we sort of realized that the opportunity was substantially larger. And The story goes, we sort of understood the telephony side of things, right? How phone calls worked and the SS7 network and everything else, but we didn't really have a very good understanding of how the internet itself worked. And Techstars obviously takes a pretty significant chunk of equity in order to participate in the program. And the only way we could really justify it to ourselves was by using the cloud credits. And
Mm.
so everybody was like, "Hey, I'm going to use AWS or I'm going to use Google." And they were all offering, hundreds of thousands of dollars if you pick them. And our idea was to use all of them. And so that's how we went down the path of understanding how the internet worked. First iteration was like using a Cisco ASA to connect all the clouds, which obviously wasn't going to scale. And then from there, realized Equinix had a cloud exchange product, and we could actually physically connect into all of the clouds, build multi-cloud infrastructure, and then we sort of understood the other half of the equation, which was how internet infrastructure works, and that sort of led us down the path of building sort of the first IP based telco globally, and everything thereafter has been an iteration on that.
Wow. So from the phone guy to a unicorn, pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no,
I mean, For all you out to know, David is a unicorn. A lot of people don't talk about him. We're going to start talking about him a lot more because it's his time now, especially with the battle you just went through. And I think really, my whole thing and the reason why I jumped on your side because it didn't make sense to me. I mean, I went through the whole thing with the campaign registry, how they tried to frame Bill Peters, and it just didn't make sense. I mean, you were clearly framed, and a lot of people in the industry know or don't know how political messaging is and voice is, and how certain groups get into certain companies. And we had election interference in the campaign registry. It was in Breitbart. Bill Peters put in his complaint. I mean, there was clear election interference. An employee had cinched did some interference. There's progressive groups working in the campaign registry. It's all documented, guys. So I looked at the whole thing saying, wow, this guy was set up. Like, who set you up? Like, do you have any idea? Because you were clearly set up and targeted on this thing. There's no way around it. There's no way they had that information. They had those numbers. There's just no way. Have you give thought to that, or you don't care?
Well, I mean, we're trying to run it down. Obviously, we're trying to do the investigation, which the FCC Enforcement Bureau did themselves. Um, Ultimately, I think we would be engaging in speculation. I don't necessarily want to engage in speculation as to who done it. But yeah, it's unfortunate that the Enforcement Bureau, which ultimately does one or two actions a year, decided that the highest and best use of their time when Americans receive north of 5 billion robocalls was to go after someone who ultimately was targeting them. And it is obviously suspicious that whoever targeted them had all of their cell phone numbers. And we're talking about the commissioners themselves,
Yeah.
their legal advisors, their chiefs of staffs, former commissioners, their family members. So, it was obvious to us, and I think, as we explained it to the industry and even folks outside of the industry, that we were ultimately swatted here.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think they targeted them. They think they targeted you. I
oh
think you were directly targeted.
yeah,
No
no, I
question.
think somebody was looking for the FCC to come after us. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who would that be besides like the biggest player in the game, King Twilio, which is now King Telnyx? I got this hat for you. It's my Telnyx hat because you're not King David. Who else could it be? I mean, I put a little post out. I don't know if you read it. I know you don't like all my posts, but you do read them. Um, I'm just very skeptical. This is an inside job. And again, I'm going to go down my own rabbit hole and get different feedback from people. We got a lot of people talking to us. And, I do put things out there. I do like to think about where it came from because it's crazy. I mean, you're an American company. You're a leader in the space. Um, until I met you, I didn't know how big you were or how many customers you had, and just how solid of a company you are. And then just getting to know you, and how bright you are, how brilliant you are. I mean, we've had different guys on here, and as I get into Telnyx, I don't really see another game in town besides you as a U.S. based company that's really competing with Twilio straight up across the board. You've got aggregators that say they're CPaaS companies. People have taken money in from the market, and they all use the word CPaaS and organizations and CPaaS, but they're all just aggregators with lipstick. So I think one of the other things I want to understand, because I'm gonna start getting into Twilio more in the next couple of weeks, on especially with their numbers tomorrow. And it's nothing personal against them. It's just the way they were just extorted by hedge funds. But that's a different ballgame. From your standpoint, what's the real differentiator for you and Twilio, other than the fact that they spend $1.2 billion a year in sales and marketing? Which, well, I think now it's out to 800, but it's really not because they bury some cogs somewhere else, and we'll get to that after their earnings tomorrow. How do you see yourself? Because I know I had this conversation with you before. The difference between you and Twilio outside of the money they spent.
Yeah, I think it fundamentally comes down to is we just approach the problem differently. So, Twilio is very much a software company, right? And only really a software company in that they rely on AWS to deliver their infrastructure from a carrier relationship perspective, they are reliant on other operators in order to get access to markets, and they sort of combine those two things with, you know, admittedly a very well put together API and lots of marketing to be able to offer programmable voice. And so, we sort of see the Twilio is obviously a competitor, but we were looking to sort of build the telco for the 21st century, and we sort of approached the problem from a bottoms up perspective, and we control the actual infrastructure itself, right? We're not reliant on a single cloud provider, and then we go in and operate as a licensed carrier in the markets in which we operate, eliminating all the middlemen. And in doing so, and then we can do obviously the software stuff. I mean, my belief is the software stuff ultimately is relatively easy to do or replicate. It's much harder to sort of do the hard infrastructure stuff. And so I think that's, I mean, you sort of saw this. You remember we had the big boom and right around COVID time when everybody was rushing to get a Twilio multiple.
Yeah.
Sort of saw that everyone was going in and trying to, and why wouldn't they? They had done all the hard work of building telco infrastructure,
Yeah.
and here's Twilio coming in and writing some software and getting a multiple that was 10 to 20 times larger than what the folks doing the hard work were getting. And so everyone sort of threw their hat in the ring. I mean, obviously we've sort of seen that, but hasn't necessarily worked out. And
No.
and a lot of the folks that did it, ultimately can't write software, and so they've struggled since. But the big difference is we sort of have control over the entire stack, and that gives us the ability to do things that Twilio can't do. But as a matter of example, HD voice, right, which is going to be very important, I think, in an AI world where you need LLMs. You have ASRs, and you need to be able to do text to speech. You want to understand what a customer's sentiment is. It's hard to do that in an 8-bit world, right? So you want to be able to have it in HD, and we can deliver that. And the reason we can deliver it is because we directly peer with other carriers. Like, we participate in the ecosystem not as a large customer like Twilio does, but instead as a peer to the other operators, and that gives us the ability to do things differently, frankly, better, and cheaper.
Yeah, because they had to acquire, I mean, they made that $750 million investment in Cineverse, which for a minority stake, which inevitably was what got Jeff Lawson fired, that and some other stuff, which has actually been confirmed. And then they bought ZipWhip, which definitely gave them a leg up on 800. I know there's some large customers that they retained because of that. But they definitely acquired their way into a position of power and monopoly. And then they look, I mean, I don't know if you know this. I was under NDA with the campaign registry. They've come after me, subpoenaed me, sent people to my house. I'm quite open about it. I mean, they got an 80% discount on all campaigns, right? Where you guys weren't. So they were getting an 80% discount, prepaying to those low lifes in Italy and Calera, on campaigns, had a huge discount, and they were getting campaigns turned around in 2 days when you're waiting 10 days, right? Unfair to you, unfair to Infobip, unfair to everybody. So they had a lot of leg up on a lot of you guys to get this market, but now their revenue is still growing, but slightly, and I think the end is near for them.
I think, yeah, my view is, and I think Robert from Bird shares this view, is like SMS is ultimately a highly commoditized
Yep.
space, right? It's incredibly difficult to differentiate in the space, right? You're sort of operating within the paradigm that exists, and switching cost is low, right? And pretty much anybody can do it. Like, it just doesn't require any tremendous complexity to make SMS work, and you can sort of figure out clever ways of delivering messages cheaper by using global titles and routing traffic through different operators around the world, which these sort of gray routes, I don't know if you want to call that kosher or not, and that all that obviously is being shut down
Yeah.
through SS7 gateways and the like, but that's just not where you're going to be able to get maximum value in the market. So Obviously it's a very big part of Twilio's business. I think a lot of things feed into the SMS machine, and I think folks realize that. I mean, the multiple obviously reflects what people think about uh, the value of a large SMS business.
Well, it's
So
funny. Needham came out with a report. I posted it today where they're trying to let people know. Well, Twilio's really just a CPaaS company and a messaging company. Meanwhile, the whole time you call them a SaaS, I don't really look at them as a SaaS on a plug and play. I definitely a software company. But what's your definition of CPaaS? Are you the definition of CPaaS? Or that's just, are there just terminology that really meaningless, like Bird says? Bird says, like, look, nobody cares what you call them, but the market cares, investors care, the industry cares, competitors care. There needs to be a branding here. Where do you view yourself as a branded company? Like, what is Telnyx to you?
sure. I mean, we'll throw our hat in the CPaaS category, but I mean, I, I think the way that we would like to be comped, right, on a go forward basis is more along the lines of someone like Cloudflare, right,
Mhm.
who has infrastructure and can, as a result of having that infrastructure, have stronger gross margins, right? Like I think it's going to be very difficult to succeed in this market as a software only company, and I think we're we're sort of seeing that play out,
Yeah.
right? So
Well, the multiples are disgusting for everybody else. I mean, they're torched. They're pretty much finished. uh, as far as those multiples are long gone because it was just all, pig on lipstick on a pig. So you got
well,
yourself just go ahead.
yeah, no, it's a lot of hype. I mean, no question. There was a lot of hype in the space, and I think the air has sort of been let out of the bubble.
Uh,
So uh, yeah, we're focused ultimately is where we think there's going to be high value to customers, right? And so that's solving for all the emerging problems in the AI category, right? That's going to be where I think folks are going to struggle, particularly in anything adjacent to communications, because latency is just such an important
Yeah.
component, right? Human speech is happening at, call it, 200 milliseconds. And if you're bouncing around a bunch of different APIs and players, you're not going to be able to achieve that. And so by co-locating AI infrastructure next to communications infrastructure, you can solve the most important problem of them all, which is the physics problem, and ensure that people can have conversations with agents in a way that is what I anticipate will be better than conversations with people inside of the next 12 to 18 months.
so you're from the same school as Bird, rebuilding a same type of thing. You view yourself more down the line of what he's saying and he's doing, or
No, I
different
don't think so. I think we're headed in sort of different directions. I mean,
different direction.
I think he's moving into the sort of the software space.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're going after CRM plus,
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a SaaS business
and I
directly.
think there's obviously tremendous opportunity there, and excited to see what he builds. Uh, Meanwhile, we're very focused on the hard infrastructure, the hard technical problems in the communications infrastructure space.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to compete with the big boys, and that's not going to be fun for him at the end of the day. Where you're staying in your lane, basically, where you're talking about who? Twilio? Like who else? The usual suspects?
Yeah, I think Twilio, and I think there's definitely potentially the emergence of a new category, right, in the voice AI space.
Oh yeah.
So
Uh,
and then that's going to become multimodal, right? So you're going to be tapping into, I'll call it SMS today, RCS tomorrow, and then everything else. Uh, we're also really focused on the wireless space, right? So our belief is this promise of converged communications is increasingly possible as we move away from 3G, 4G infrastructure and move toward 4G, 5G infrastructure. Uh, we're going to have VoLTE, right? And what is VoLTE? It's just SIP. And so
uh,
imagine imagine a world now where you have the programmability of an API and you can deliver that all the way to the dialer on a handset. And so you have all these companies, for example, that are serving specific sectors like the financial sector, right? You want to talk to your banker at JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch or whatever it is, Bank of America, I guess now, and they have to talk to you through like an app that they install on their phone so that the call can be recorded and monitored and so forth. There's a, a world in which you don't need to do that, right? Where as a result of converged infrastructure, you can do all the media streaming from the call that's happening to the handset. You can be analyzing those calls in real time for compliance. You can be doing follow-ups. You can be doing webhooks that make their way back into the CRM and so forth. So, I mean, we think that's where the hard problems are, right? And so we want to be able to tackle those and have a moat, right? I think the way that we think about it is, that's where it's going to be difficult for new market entrants to emerge because it just takes time. It takes time to establish carrier relationships. It takes time.
Decades.
Yeah, mobile infrastructure. It's a hard problem. Internet infrastructure. It's a hard problem. So we obviously don't want to be in a space where we can easily be disrupted, and so that's where I think the concern lies from like Twilio sort of went and tried to go up stack. And I think it was an issue for a couple of reasons. One, they put themselves in a position where they were competing with their customers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That,
Yeah.
that's always a dangerous proposition. And the second thing is, uh, yeah, it's much easier to build SaaS today than it was ever before. I mean, you can vibe code it, right? You have you can we're getting to the point now where you can take a screenshot of a competitor's application and you can get a working prototype pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so I think really the whole SaaS category is going to be in a lot of trouble because you're just going to be able to build software so much faster. And I saw it recently interview with Zuckerberg. He's essentially saying, we're already at a point where, and this is true for us, you have AI that's able to tackle the same issues that a junior, and you can even go as far as saying a mid-level engineer can tackle in a year or two. AI is going to be able to do everything a senior engineer can do. So, we're sort of shifting to a world where we're sort of moving. I guess you're going to have AI native companies and you're going to have non-AI native companies, and I think that's possibly sort of the K-shaped economy we're going to see yet
Yeah.
again. That
Yeah.
folks that are AI native are going to be able to operate at a productivity level that's just not possible in the current paradigm. And large SaaS organizations, with thousands of people, there's going to be a lot of pushback, and it's going to be hard for that to make the leap to AI native. But I'm sure some will make it,
Yeah.
and the world will look different in 5 years.
You're in this. You built this for the long term.
No
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I mean, it's very clear. I know from getting to know you and talking to you. So you don't really view anybody so much as a competitor because you don't know where they're going to be going forward. You're kind of forecasting where things are going. You're really skating to the puck.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're
Pretty
doing our
much.
best to get to where the puck is going,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say that we don't have any competitors. We go head to head with with Twilio every day, and we go head to head with folks like Bandwidth every day, and so there's lots of companies that we ultimately compete with, and so and some new market entrants, particularly in the AI space that we go head to head with as well. So there are definitely competitors, and I guess what I'm trying to get across is maybe I'm less I'm increasingly like what keeps me up at night. I don't think Twilio keeps me up at night. I think
Wow.
what keeps me up at night is sort of this like new market entrant, right? That can potentially introduce something and capture a big portion of the value prop to the end user, particularly the enterprise. That's
Gotcha.
that's sort of where we're trying to play offense as much as possible because I think no question that's where sort of the next element of disruption will be.
So what's your view on companies like Vapi and Cognigy that partner with Gembones to give them the voice piece? Are they competitors, or do you see that easily differentiated because of your integrated infrastructure?
Uh, I think Vapi is likely a competitor. So yeah, I mean we think we're going to be able to do. I would call that AI orchestration.
Yeah,
Our view is that we'll be able to do AI orchestration better than uh,
because
any.
of the infrastructure.
Also, Vappy's a young company. They just raised $20 million. Your kids out there, they're nice kids. They were on our show. I don't see how you put them in the same league as Telnyx, other than the
No,
fact that they got their funding from Bessemer. I don't even know how you even put them into the fold, Alan. It's kind of embarrassing. He's
no,
competing
no.
with
They're
his.
good in voice AI.
I understand they're good in voice AI, but they just raised capital here a little while ago. They're young guys. They're just and look, I love the kids. They're great kids, but you're talking about a whole different animal here. The maturity of a Telnyx. So I mean,
Which is the risk, right, to us more than it is to them. I
oh
think
no, they have less to lose.
that, and it's been kind of nice for us because we've now been put in a position where we have to operate at the speed of a company like Vapi, right? We
Yeah,
need to be able to turn out features, daily, weekly, and so forth. And so it's a different it's an adjustment.
yeah.
It's a different approach to solving these problems. So I don't think we underestimate what they're capable of doing. And there's
No,
obviously
no, it's nothing to do with aspiration. It's just where they are in their cycle, and compared to where you are in their cycle, and the full offering that a Telnex has that they'll have to catch up to. They could conceivably be a partner of yours. Just knowing them and having them on, they could conceivably, get to a point where you either acquire them or do something because they're relatively small. At the end of the day,
look, there's always going to be some co-opetition component in
yeah.
telecom. It's always been the case. It will continue to be the case. So there is going to be that co-opetition.
Although they'll probably get bought by Twilio because Bessemer are the one that led the round with them for 20 million. So the same guy that got thrown out with Jeff Lawson got thrown off the board at Twilio, invested in Vaping. Those were actually the investors in it. So I can envision them already position it for sale because even though they got thrown off the board, they're still shareholders over there. So
Fair enough.
I'm not sure how that helps them, but that's what's
Well,
going to
it's a
happen.
gap. They've got a gap there at the moment in voice AI.
You take money from VCs, you take 20 million, you're being sold, whether you like it or not. And David will explain that to you as a founder
Oh,
and why
good.
he's built his company his own way and why he started his company by not giving up too much and controlling it. And I know
Oh,
you've raised quite a bit of money, but I mean, did you raise that money at the high point?
We had the opportunity to raise money in favorable environments. I'll say
In a
that.
favorable environment, yeah. It's like Viz raised $1 billion at a 3 point. Robert Viz raised $1 billion at a $3.8 billion valuation, and he's still in control of the company, which is staggering. I mean, he's the coolest guy alive just for that alone.
Yeah, agreed.
You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine? He doesn't even show up to board meetings. Just tells him, nah, I'm not doing board meetings. So we've been having him on the show quite a few times. I'm a fan of his personally. Think he's a straight shooter, and I root for him as I root for you. But still haven't met anybody tough for you. What you went through, I mean, they could have destroyed you. I can't tell you how many messages I got, bets I won. So I made a few dollars off for you because I bet on you. Uh, and you're not getting a piece of it. I was betting on you. People saying, no, they're going to destroy him. They're going to destroy him. I said, no, he's not. He's right. And I just, watching Brendan Carr come in, and even Czar was a fan of some of his principles. I just, like that first post I put out, I got a tremendous amount of attention. Like, he's going to figure out you've been framed. He's going to figure out that you've been set up. You know what I mean? And you made it easier by fighting back and not backing down. Now, I don't want to get into the Newsmax story that disappeared, but that was kind of strange. Right before their $30 billion IPO, that is now at $2 billion. So I found that. So I think I think you're going to be home free, and obviously the traceback group now put you back in, right? Or
Yeah, we're back in the ITG.
yeah, so now you're just off and hitting it, and so this is great stuff. And any other things that you see? Like, do you see any instability with the operators at this point in stage of the game? I know, like even recently with the tariffs, a lot of the operators are already cutting their budgets. They're kind of like foresee. There's like a whole shift recently because of the tariffs and what's going on. Are you witnessing any of that? Because I have a few companies that are telling me, some of the operators are actually cutting their budgets on some of these middleware companies. Are you seeing any of that? Is that an opportunity to you? Just the complete disruption because it's disrupted.
We're seeing it. I think there's a lot of folks that are on wait and see mode,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? For a variety of reasons. I think, just very directly, you put an order in today, and by the time it lands, there might be 150% tariff.
Yeah.
So, that's a risk that I think folks don't want to take. And then obviously there's also these macro headwinds that people are taking into account. And so there's, certainly, I think, caution on the part of, big companies for sure, right? Uh, but I think across the board, folks are sort of looking to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm curious too, right? I mean, we think we're sort of better positioned than most, right? One thing that we always say, and sort of to your point around VCs who hate to hear it, we tend to think that price is the best feature. So we've always tried to put ourselves in a position to, there's two types of companies, and there's the sort of companies, and I'm quoting Bezos here, that seek to charge their customers more, and those that seek to charge their customers less. And we fall into the second category. And so, our hope is that by approaching the problem the way that we've approached it, that we can ultimately deliver our solutions for substantially less than our competitors. And as a result, unlock use cases that other people just can't, right? So like, a lot of these voice AI companies, when you look at your all-in costs today, right, using OpenAI, for example, using 11 Labs, using whoever you're going to use for text to speech,
Yeah.
DeepGram, or I guess you can use Whisper too, which is probably the best bet. You're still talking about an all-in cost to the end user of 30 to 40 cents per minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
So take 40 cents per minute, multiply it by 60 minutes. You're well north of $20 an hour.
Yeah.
And so the AI, and I think we all recognize that AI is still not at a point where it's as versatile as a human being on the other end of a phone line. People still call in and say, "Give me a person."
Yeah.
And so
Oh, yeah.
the question is there an opportunity to drive that cost down from 40 cents to 10 cents and then 5 cents? And if you can do that, then all of a sudden you're sort of in a position where there's lots of things that you can tackle. And moreover, as we sort of see this continuous improvement in the AI space, I very much believe you're going to be in a position where, again, 12 months or 24 months, however long it will take. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver from that. Right? Today, what you have is, I guess, autopilot, and what I'm talking about is full self-driving. And so
Hmm.
maybe it'll always be 5 years away.
Yeah.
Uh, but you're going to be in a place where these LLMs obviously take an increasing amount of context.
Yeah.
And think about every interaction that you have over the phone. You call your bank, you call your airline, you call in. They have a profile of you, but there's no way that the agent on the other line can instantly understand the last 10, 20, 50 interactions that you had and be able to serve you better as a result. And that's sort of the promise that I think AI is unlocking, and ultimately what we're looking to deliver.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. I had a call from an old friend of mine, just took over as a CEO of a company that has over $500 million on a financial platform and I think I might have sent that over to you with family offices and stuff. And he was talking to me about the really the convergence that he sees with mobile and money and banking and AI and security and moving money and crypto and finance. He's talking about a complete convergence of all of that. And I think that's something that you were talking about. Do you have a lot of banking customers? Are you dealing with people in the financial, a lot of customers? You see yourself in that space? Because that to me is the next horizon. They're not going to be using a Twilio or one of these other players. They're going to want a more robust AI managed communication tool with higher security. Do you, and maybe I'm speaking.
Yeah,
Am I?
certainly a vertical that we're going after. So, and where we've made some traction. So I think the big verticals that we're seeing adoption, healthcare. Just there's a ton to tackle in the healthcare space,
Yep.
and build the infrastructure. We can do the HIPAA stuff very well. The logistics space, that space, just there's a lot of people that do pretty, um, uh, I guess, menial work. I guess there's no better way of putting it, right? In terms of load coordination, follow up, figuring out, hey, how do I get A to Z? I mean, in this moment, obviously, logistics uh, has some headwinds.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but I think when we get back to normal there, that's going to be an important category. And then to your point, the financial category, those are areas where we think that the technology that we're working on is going to have substantial impact.
Yeah, I actually referred him to you. He was asking me about companies, and I referred him to Telnyx, as a couple of other people that I referred to you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah,
Well,
we're very
I'm a
we're
Telnyx
very
I'm a
grateful.
Telnyx fan. Huh?
We're grateful. We're very grateful.
I'm grateful that you. It was so enjoyable watching you fight and win so many bets on people were texting me. He's going to get destroyed. He's crazy. Just pay the fine, pay him, leave him alone, beg for forgiveness, and I never seen anything like it. I remember talking to you. I'm saying, no, this guy's not backing down from nobody. So look, I'm a guy who grew up watching Muhammad Ali and watching fights and watching fighters and watching the underdog and just being a fan of the underdog and just even though you got a little help from AT&T, but you kind of knew it anyhow. You went down the right path and you were right, clear and day. And I mean, are you looking for any more, or you just passed it already? You just move it past it. Is there anything else that you want to see happen? I mean,
I
um,
mean, it would be nice to, get the all clear officially, but I mean, despite that, at this point, I think we've had some assurances that um, the matter is resolved.
Cool.
So we don't need to run any victory laps at this point. We want to get back to focusing on building product and serving customers and obviously helping the industry with obviously this huge problem. I mean, I just feel
you save people. I was telling people left and right. What he just did. I mean, he realized what he just did for all of you.
Yeah,
I
I mean, I think
mean,
we're certainly on a dangerous path. I think, I sort of heard through the rumor mill that, this was quote unquote a test case for the Federal Communications Commission for the Enforcement Bureau to see if they could leverage their power against operators. And I hope that we sort of put a kibosh on that because, really there are bad actors out there, and the efforts of regulators and law enforcement should be focused on going after those bad actors.
Yeah.
And look, there's so many learnings that we've had from looking at the traffic, and I think there has been some incremental progress in the industry, but sort of this a prescriptive approach that's been taken around, hey, you should collect this information, that information, and whatever else people recommend. I mean,
We know KYC.
well, that was that. We did a whole podcast on that. I know you probably saw it with Jason Welch, a brilliant guy, industry veteran on KYC when people were beating you up with KYC stuff. I mean that. So look, we're our whole community, thousands of people reach out, and I've been getting yelled at. He's not coming on the show, and this and that. That's why I put the post out that Alan screwed up all. And look, we want to have you back. We really want to. You know what we do here at Truth and Telecoms, all about doing the right thing, telling the truth, and look, having an American company like you going out there and fighting. I mean, the simple fact that they're picking on you. I mean, how are you not going after the campaign registry? The whole tech team is in Taiwan. There's all kinds of. They're owned by, for a foreign owned, and they can decide who can or can't send you a text message. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. FCC, what are you doing? You're picking on guys like Telnyx when you should be. There's things that we sent you that we put out there. I got really upset that they went after you, and not some of these other players.
I was obviously disappointed myself.
Yeah. But look, you know what? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think you're going to come out of this way stronger because now you're a household name in the industry. Everybody knows you. The Czar knows you. Everybody knows you. Everybody's talking about you. I told him you were coming on a show. He says he's got you going to his event. And look, it's a new world, and it's going to be a new world for 4 years. 100%. There's nothing going to change. And being an American company, I mean, just new stuff today with the new people are doing with AI and certain things, and they're going to be. There's a Cold War going on, and it ain't ending.
No,
it's not going to end.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's going to be America first. Full stop. That's not going to change at least for 4 years.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, and that's going to be the difference. And once he finds out all these DEI companies, like even that are out there, hate him and hate the new administration. I mean, look, this was such a hit job in you. I don't want to beat it up anymore, but I'm going to keep digging. I'm going to keep doing my own stuff. And I don't want to put you in any kind of spot on this podcast because you've been through hell. I can't even imagine what it cost you in legal to fight. Oh. And they could never pay that back. So we're just going to keep putting you out there, keep referring people to you, and keep betting on you're the new king. David Casem is the new king. So I don't know what else to say. I could sit here and talk to you for hours on this, but I think it's important for the industry to know who's here, where you're going, what you're doing, and watch out. And Twilio, you don't keep them up at night. So good night to you. And thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Because I have a tendency of not shutting up.
No, I think we covered a lot of bases here.
So thank you for coming down. I appreciate all your back and forth with me over the last year and a half of what we're doing here. And we're going to be singing no IPO soon, though. I can't get any stock on you guys. I'm going to share it now. I have tried. And before I go, you interested in buying a Tintec? Just, I got to throw it out there, kid. You know what I mean? I think I sent you a couple of messages and you ignored them. So,
not today. Not today, Johnny.
Not today. Okay.
Definitely keep it in the back of our mind.
But I had tried.
Yeah, I mean, keep going.
You don't ask. You don't.
Can't give up. That's key. Never give up.
Oh, I never get up. You're going to be here next 10 years. You'll be hearing me in 10 years. I'll be selling it. But I'll probably down at the corner store I'm just starting with those guys. So I haven't even begun my fight there. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Watch the train wreck.
Wish you all the success there.
I know you do. But look, thank you for coming down. Thank you for keeping your word. And we're with you, man.
Yep, absolutely. Take care.